Ferguson, George Floyd, all of a sudden emerging out of those incidents with respect to what happened was this phrase, defund the police. How did that make you feel?
I went to a death of a 5-year-old girl at her home. And now this newer generation, this next generation doesn't want to work that overtime. The individual was pinned in the car. I couldn't get him out. Just the term active shooter alone is enough at times to get organizations to say, I don't know if we're ready for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it entails. It's intimidating.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Off Air Podcast. I'm Slater.
Marjo.
We feature retired Detective Lieutenant Mike Maddalena from the Pittsfield Police Department in today's show.
Yeah, great episode.
Yeah, we talk a lot about, we start with defund the police and all that ensued after that in terms of people not wanting to become law enforcement in this country,
yep,
and so forth and so on. A lot of talk about trauma on the job.
Mm-hmm. How it is to deal with a 20-plus year career, almost 30-year career on the force, and how that affects you, and then what he decided to do after leaving the police department.
Right. A lot of critical incidents on the job, how they deal with it, and such. Plus, what he does now, active shooter training, and much more. Welcome to the Off Air Podcast. So we're chatting with retired Detective Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
Mike Maddalena.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
From the Pittsfield, Massachusetts Police Department, formerly of, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you remember, when did the phrase defund the police sort of hit the mainstream media?
For me, it seems like it's been quite an eternity. I would say, I don't know, 15 years, maybe.
Oh, really?
Since
I didn't realize that. I thought it came about, in
Yeah, I thought it was late
COVID era.
Yeah,
but listen,
right
maybe that's
then,
just
yeah,
when it kind of exploded publicly. But
I think maybe it became more of a more common term that we began to hear.
Sure, but you had heard kind of that before.
Yeah, looking back on my career, you're gonna have to forgive me for time and dates and recollection of any kind of that stuff like that. But
so, I mean, Ferguson, George Floyd, all of a sudden emerging out of those incidents with respect to what happened was this phrase, defund the police. How did that make you feel?
I think that I can speak for a lot of us. When we began to see those images that we saw, through the major news organizations, it was, to me, I was disgusted to see what was playing out.
Yeah.
At the same point in time, I'm always, just as though, right, the defendant is innocent until proven guilty. Mm-hmm. Always wanted to be sure, are we getting the whole picture here?
Of course, which is so hard to get.
Yeah.
But that being said, there was enough that was put out there where, even someone in my shoes, there were other means or ways of dealing with that situation. That being said, I wasn't there, right? So I won't take it any further. But to your point, when you have to get dressed into the uniform, and that has been on the news for the past several days,
right?
It definitely wears on you. And I was not in patrol at that time. I mean, I was in plain clothes, but I really thought for the guys and gals in uniform that were going out on the street, I almost felt as though I wanted to go down to the roll call and say, listen, I'm sure you're aware of what's taking place nationally. Mm-hmm. Be careful where you're parking, right?
Be aware.
We're trained in situational awareness, but during that time period where you saw those major incidents playing out that were adversely, negatively impacting policing as a whole, I was nervous and worried for my brothers and sisters that were in uniform.
Yeah.
Right, because out of that comes this drop-off in numbers of people who want to become officers.
Yeah.
Not just locally here, but nationally. And I think that's a combination of a couple things. But even Mom Dami's election in New York City, he doesn't love the police. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not around here, but it's still the biggest city in America. Why don't you think people want to become cops in 25?
I just think that over the years, somehow we are the villains. And a lot of that has to do, right, with what you are seeing, right? The cell phones are out everywhere. And I agree, they should be. You have the legal right to video in public, have at it. And they're catching at times these small percentage, and they are small percentages of incidents that are shameful and shouldn't be happening in the first place. But that is something that is affecting everyone as a whole, right? So it was supposed to be a noble profession that you went into, like you said, an honorable position. And I think that to some degree, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
That those are people that thought about getting into law enforcement are now seeking other things. The other thing too is the lack of support in general, plays a role into that. I know that the silent majority still supports overall law enforcement.
Sure.
But it's the silent majority, right? They're silent.
Yeah.
So you don't hear them.
Yeah. I mean, I think what oftentimes people forget is that you can still be supportive of law enforcement officers, but also acknowledge when mistakes are made. And I hate the term bad apples, but like that very small percentage, it's okay to speak out against that or say, hey, this isn't okay, but also support the 95% of important things and good things that police officers are doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Like when I've never had an issue with the police, and anytime I've been pulled over, it's always been, sir, this and that, yep, get my license. But I'm not even an officer, and I still get mad if I see a video with some dude pulling out their phone going, "What's your badge number, officer? Can I speak to your superior, please?" Just sometimes it's legit, and I agree with you. It's a small number of instances, and sometimes people just love being pricks, dude.
Yeah.
Like they love that and they want to be part of that. And
yeah.
So there's that. And then there's you just spoke at a seminar where they talked about the job stress, PTSD that comes from that. You left the department? Like you didn't reach age of retirement, yeah?
Well, the full age of retirement was 55 years of age, 32 years of service. That gets you your full pension. So I had 28 years in, so obviously I was qualified for a pension. And I had the decision based on where I was, my mindset was at that point is, are you going to stick this out for no other reason than money? Or are you going to get out now before, mental health gets worse, before something, gets triggered on the street? So that's what I tell people is, I retired, but, I quit. That's what I tell people. I'm done.
How hard of that was a decision for you to make?
Well, when I look back on it now, it felt like that's it, I'm done. But this had been brewing for 2 years, 3 years, I think. I could tell, I knew I had changed, but it wasn't until I left and I could reflect and process that I said, wow, I was becoming that toxic member.
Really?
Where I was always the optimist, I turned to the pessimist. I actually started.
Interesting. Yeah.
I actually started self-isolating so that when I went into work, I had I was the detective lieutenant supervisor at that point, so I was not on the street as much, but I began to self-isolate in the office a lot more. And if you know me, I'm usually a very social, outgoing guy. And one thing that I felt was important as a leader was to be checking in.
For sure, be present for your people, right?
Yeah, and I was checking out, isolating.
What is so bad about it? Like specifically, the job. What is the trauma?
I think that.
How much time do you have?
Yeah.
No, I mean yeah.
Well, I guess let me say this. At this point, I don't sit home. My daily, weekly, monthly, annually, I am not cursed or carrying a burden or a heavy weight at this point of all the critical incidents that I saw. However, they have taken a toll and they have changed me as an individual over the years. I mean, think about anybody, take out law enforcement. Right? Take the average individual who's been through some type of crisis, trauma, either through childhood.
Yeah.
That stuff stays with you. And I think that the only difference is that when you do law enforcement, you're exposed to all of those critical incidents that take place over time.
Give me an example of a critical incident.
Well, the ones, strangely enough, and I'll elaborate on it, the ones that come right to my mind are, for example, early 2000s, I had just gotten into the detective bureau, went to a death of a 5-year-old girl at her home, and she had this beautiful blonde, curly hair, and her name was Taylor. And at the same time, I had a daughter, Taylor, with the same curly hair.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that one sticks with me. Another critical incident was I was working midnights when I was younger to patrol. I was right over the corner from a rollover motor vehicle accident. I got onto the scene. I was first on the scene. The individual was pinned in the car. I couldn't get him out. And not to this day, I can still remember no speaking, just the look in his eyes, as if he was like, help me and save me. There was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
So those are like two examples. But what's really interesting is that, I've spent the 2000s in the detective bureau where we went through, quote unquote, unprecedented crime sprees. Right? Now, so that involved the big stuff, the homicides. I don't know where that's gone. But I can't even, I have a certificate from the chief of police that says, achievement of excellence for your work during an unprecedented crime spree. I don't recall any of that time. The bigger thing is, not only do I not have a lot of recollection of that time regarding those cases, I've lost time, years.
Yeah.
They're just gone.
Do you think that's a desensitization, there we go, of that? Or do you think it's purposely your body blacking it out? Why do you, or is it just people only have so much mental bandwidth?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that to some degree, maybe there's the human protective measure that's blocking that. I will tell you flat out, during those years, my friend, my therapist was the bottle. And again, we're just talking right about the career. Yeah. Never mind what was going on, family-wise.
Yeah, it's just everyday life, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You responded, a previous podcast episode, I talked about this. I don't know if you were a responding officer, but you were one of the detectives on it, and we had talked afterwards, and I brought it up to you somewhat recently, and this is something that happened 20 plus years ago, and you kind of seem to maybe vaguely remember it, I would say, or it kind of rung some bells in your head, but it wasn't so vivid. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, if he doesn't remember that vividly, then think of the amount of messed up shit you've seen. You know what I mean? That kind of made me think about what 20 plus years of seeing that kind of thing over and over again must do to you, and how much mental fortitude you have to kind of get through that, right? And still come home and smile at your wife and your kids and be able to do, like you said, all the day-to-day stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, and looking back, again, I'm 2 years out. I could look back now in if things could have been different, if I could have changed anything, I would have taken better care of myself, seen the warning signs, seen the red flags, because my wife and my kids saw them. They gave me the warnings. Something's not right. Things are escalating.
Right.
And they got nothing back from me, other than I'm fine.
So when you wanted to become an officer, did they tell you this in training, this is going to happen?
Oh, I can't remember. It was 1994. But, the interesting point about that is I was having the same conversation with a peer who was still on the job. And that's what they said is at the academy, they'll touch briefly on maybe critical incidents or mental health. But you're in your early 20s, right? You're at the academy. You're going to be a cop.
Yeah.
For some people, that's their lifelong dream. Right?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to go out and change the world.
Yeah.
So they'll sit and listen. Yeah.
It's not resonating with you, though. Yeah.
And again,
Gotcha.
5 years into the job, I'm thinking I'm still loving it. What?
You're thinking you're still loving it, or are you still loving it?
I'm trying to think back when I was there for 5 years. I was in a good place. Things were good. Eventually got promoted to detective. That was a goal of mine. So again, human perspective, age plays a role, right? I mean, I think burnout is something that we all, regardless of what career we're in.
It's just heightened in yours, I think, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you think it's possible for somebody to have a lifelong 20, 30-year career in law enforcement and not be completely screwed up afterwards? And I don't mean that in a I think you're screwed up kind of way. I'm just saying, is there a way to still be happy with your career at the end of it?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've actually thought about this because I know these people.
Right.
I've worked with these people.
Right.
That when they left, they missed it. And
Is there like a sociopathy part to this? I mean, or just some people they can just deal like
compartmentalize better or something.
Compartmentalize, yeah, deal.
But even then, that's still weighing on you somewhere. If you
Right.
even if you can separate, the stuff you're seeing and the stuff you're dealing with and the media and all that, even if you can put that into nice boxes, it's still weighing on you, right? Like
you would think. I mean, I believe I've spent more time thinking about this than you think.
No, I believe
why, why is it me? What? I mean, I was in it for the long run early on. Like I loved it. Mm-hmm. What happened to me that I said I'm done, and yet I'm watching these other people. They just enjoy going to work.
Yeah,
they will do their full term.
Yeah,
they will make their full pension.
It's like being a nurse. I mean, I think that some people don't get freaked out by blood. Some people faint when they see blood. I mean, that is a poor analogy, but yeah. So
the point you're trying to make is everybody deals with things differently.
When you say critical incident, like the first thing I would think of is like DOAs and stuff, but I didn't even think of the second example you gave when the person was in the car accident and he's looking at you going, "You got to help me."
Yeah.
And you can't.
And you got that human eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't. I mean, that's tough, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that sucks.
That one. I don't know of all the incidents over the years. Those two, that when I'm asked, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, those in relation to some of the when you talk about the awful, god awful stuff, graphic, I should say, graphic, right stuff. Those are the two that really jump out at me.
Yeah.
What's interesting though too?
Yeah.
We talk a lot about why people like us leave, and we go back to these critical incidents. They play a huge role. Mm-hmm. But toward the end of my career, I really can't pinpoint a specific critical incident anymore. I mean, I think there were just all of the other factors that had come in. I think that you reflect back on your career and you start to wonder if you made a difference. You look back on your career and you wonder, how is it after all these years I'm the bad guy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That stuff. Looking at morale in general, right? When you take on a leadership role, you would think that you take accountability for morale within an organization. So was all of that stuff too that really started to play a role. So you actually got to a point you look back and did I make a positive difference anywhere along the way?
Well, you did in my life, if it makes you feel any better.
But it was so interesting.
Yeah, Marcia was very complimentary of you in your questioning.
See,
it was just impressive, what you had to deal with. I don't know.
But I think that we don't see that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that was going to be my next question. You remember some critical incidents. Do you remember cases where you're like, wow, I just saved this person's life. I just made a difference in their day. I just inspired this person to become a law enforcement officer. Do those stick out in your mind at all? They
don't. But you know why I don't think so? Because it all depends what you're in the business for, right? I mean, I guess it would have been nice for me to be able to look back on something and say, wow, I really made a positive impact, or I made a difference. And I'm sure that there's been times where my interactions with people have hopefully made a positive difference down the road, but I don't know.
You compared yourself to a boiling pot of water while you were in active policing, like where the top is always shaken.
In when you were an active police officer, or when?
Yes.
Okay.
In the later part, right? Towards the end of my career.
Gotcha.
All right, towards the end, right? So you just gave a presentation, or your business JM Spartan, which we'll get to in a minute, put on a presentation where you spoke to people who have mental challenges, or would need debriefing and all that, and post traumatic stress disorder. You said the least amount of people out of all police, fire,
DCF workers,
teachers who attended this, you said the police were the least amount of people there. Why? And would you have gone yourself before?
Yeah, I was involved, as you said. My organization worked with a number of other organizations to bring this conference to life. And if you asked me 2 years ago, would you consider working with us and collaborating to get something like this up and running, I would have told you no. If I was asked if I would attend one of these 2 years ago, I would say no.
Why?
Well, going back to the boiling pot or the simmering pot.
Yeah.
I think that at that point in my life, that lid was rattling, and though I would have benefited greatly from a day like this at the conference, I was not going to put myself in a position where if something triggered me, that pot was going to come off. And I don't mean that I would respond in some violent way.
Sure.
I think that, it's like peeling back an onion, right? And if I'm there and publicly and you're peeling back the layers of my onion, right? I'm not in a position to deal with that, especially, in a large forum like that.
Totally.
You can't get them. It's hard enough just to get them to get the dirty word help,
right?
Or the dirty word therapy.
How many police officers that you worked with over the years do you think were in therapy when they were working? None.
No.
What percentage?
I mean, especially like coming up to my generation. We would talk about my generation. If I was on the job 5 years, 10 years, and walked into my supervisor and said, bad call, not feeling it, need a mental health day,
It's too bad.
Get back in the car.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
man
don't
up.
come
You're a
back
cop.
here.
We got to walk around and
Don't
kiss
come
your
back in
ass. You
here.
got to deal with it.
Yeah. And I don't, again, I don't dismiss that. I mean,
I know. Listen,
right? You have to know
I get it.
what you're going to be.
Listen, I was a self-medicator myself, so I mean, I understand the. I mean, so.
Do you think that's changed? Like, do you see younger officers joining the force who are, actively? I mean, because there's no one to blame in that scenario. It's just you're a product of your environment. If this is what you're dealing with day in and day out,
Yeah, I think that. I don't know if it's generation more than the profession. For example, my girls, 27, 21, seeking therapy for discussion talk, it's normal. There's no negativity. There's no stigma at all. I think that, again, there is that stigma when you're in law enforcement that, you are expected to man up, go take care of business. And there is some truth
to that.
You have to have that.
You can't break, especially on a scene.
Right.
Or like a call.
but that doesn't mean you can't seek help outside of that. Like, that's not.
I agree. Yeah.
Not manning up when you're doing what you're supposed to do in the moment you're supposed to do it. You do, but then you've got to reflect on what just happened to you, what you just went through, right?
Yeah, but if you follow those terms and you're right. This is what you're going to deal with. This going in, but what we're not doing is managing it. right?
Yeah.
We're just pushing through 10, 15, 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
Keeping it from everybody, self-medicating.
Yeah.
At some point, something's going to give.
Yeah.
But I think that to some degree that is changing.
Yeah. What's a 25-year-old cop say today? Do you talk to any of them?
25 years.
I mean, what were you were 25 when you started, yeah?
Yeah, when I was younger than that. I think I came on at 23 and 24 when I started. Again, I think it's such a different world.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
such a different profession.
What I hear is that, they don't want to work any overtime. They just want to come in, do their shift, and that's it. And sort of the generation, that came before them, were like, that can't be. These guys don't want to work. But is that the answer? Is working your shift and going home and managing it the right way?
Good point.
The problem is there's no cops to fill, there's no one joining.
Right.
So everyone is mandatoried, and I hear a lot of that talk,
Yes. Well, again, going back to, right, like we talk about the mental health and how it's related with all the critical incidents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but now summer's here, staffing is short. So now in addition, you're going to get mandatory 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So how does that play into everything? Right? Now,
Yeah.
in addition to just the job, you're frustrated, right, with the fact that you've got to do 3 overtime. How is that for your physical health and your mental health in general?
Yeah.
In your home life, because you're missing your kids'
Right.
soccer games, and you're missing whatever you had plans for, and now you're stuck at work.
And you're working 16 hours
Right.
as an officer.
Right.
And to your point, morale, right, as a whole, right, due to staffing issues, and now you're getting stuck with these overtime.
Right. This job sucks. What the hell?
Yes.
Yeah.
But to the other thing is, and I understand that too. I've seen it and heard it a lot. The generational difference between, people from my generation or earlier that worked the overtime. They out like the outside overtime.
Yeah.
And now this newer generation, this next generation doesn't want to work that overtime, and now they're being referred to as lazy.
Yeah.
Is that
Why?
fair?
I mean, if you are
Is it fair for them to have boundaries and say, no, I want to
Yeah.
work 40 hours a week because that's what I,
right, if you are living a comfortable life and you're meeting your goals financially,
Why do you want to, why force yourself to do extra?
and I'm not saying that those of us, because I retired, do the outside details as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I at this point appreciate going out and being able to, make a little bit more. But that's just not important to them. And I do think that probably in some way is a positive, right? Affects their overall mental health a little bit more.
You said you were an optimist and then you became a pessimist. What were you pessimistic about?
Organizational change, leadership change. I think I was naive at feeling as though, I would be able to lead this charge, or I would be able to change the machine, if you will.
The department?
Yeah, the way that things are done, but it's not one person does not.
Right.
It's like the chief of police. The chief of police cannot do that on their own.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately,
Yes.
right? He's the head of the snake,
Yeah.
but you cannot point out to one individual and say, well, you're the reason why.
When you first said that, my reaction was you were pessimistic about society. But this is more of a
Internal,
internal job thing.
Well, you bring up a good point, because this is also something where to this day, I really have to spend some time in here saying, because I can get very negative and pessimistic about the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Anybody
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Let alone
with
somebody who was in the field that you were in for that long.
Yeah.
The news cycle the way it is. Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah.
I used to go into, local restaurant establishments and scan the room and be like, hey, how are you? Or, sit down, get up, go over, shake hands. Now I go in and I'm just go over to my seat, have a seat, and that's not the person that I was, and I'm trying to get back to that. But I don't know if that's just based on what I did for a living, or is it, do we all feel that as we're getting older? We look at the world in general. I mean, I don't know how many times that we've gone to trainings for like situational awareness, or where some of the first conversations that come up, and it's not us that bring them up. It's the organization. They're like, I don't know what's going on, but it just seems like people really suck these days. And I'm like, interesting.
Is it therapeutic for you and healing for you to help other people? Like when you speak at these public events and somebody comes up to you and says, wow, whatever you said really resonated with me. Do you think that's in the process of helping others, you're helping yourself as well?
They do. Yeah. I actually wish that I had been a presenter at the Voices of Valor and had more time. Because I think that what really resonates with people, if you're going to get them there, is just no filter, be honest, right? Let them know, because like I said, if you saw me or knew me through my years at the department where we worked together, you would have never known. You would have never known. Anything that was going on, and then when I started talking about, my
you came with high critical acclaim.
I appreciate that, but
it's just what I've heard over the years.
But that also goes back to
I said the one with the gray hair or the dark hair.
I can tell you a little bit about the dark hair. For
those of you who don't know, Mike has a brother on the force.
Yeah.
Today's episode of Off Air with Slater and Marjo is brought to you by Berkshire Adventures. Berkshire Adventure Tours, e-bike tours, picturesque picnics, private e-bike rides, Cloud9 seats, hidden gems, and scenic picnics. I did one of these the other day. Can't recommend it enough. Great local guide here in the Berkshires. So BerkshireAdventureTours.com. You can find them on social media.
I did want to transition a little bit to what you do now. So JM Spartan Training, I was on your website earlier. You do site assessments for buildings and businesses. You train on active shooter situations, cardiac arrest, CPR, and there was another thing I saw on there. But talk to me about active shooter training. What does that look like, and where do you go, and who do you talk to?
Okay. Well, for starters, what we've seen is that just the term active shooter alone is enough at times to get organizations to say, I don't know if we're ready for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it entails. It's intimidating.
Yeah.
So we've
let's
tried
just pretend that's not going to happen, so let's not do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that kind of thing.
So, we've gone from that to like active assailant or critical response options.
So you had to soften the language.
We had to soften the language to do that, yes. And it's still, it takes 2-3 meetings to sit with certain members of an organization and let them get to know us so that they feel comfortable and trust that we're not going to be coming in there, right, just unloading hell on their organization. There is a way, right? You want to make it realistic as much as you can, and we try to do that, but we also, we're not chasing you down.
Like the drills themselves, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So usually what we'll do is we'll take them through 2 or 3 different phases until you get to an actual act. There will be some in-room training where we discuss the situation awareness. We talk about behavioral indicators. We talk about red flag warnings. We spend a lot of time talking about ways to prevent
these situations from even happening in the first place. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're talking about recognizing from within. I thought you were. And do you go to these businesses and offer your support, or they call you?
Yeah, the majority of it is they will reach out to us.
All right, they'll reach out to you. Say I have a business. I got 40 people working here, and I say, listen, Mike, need you to come in and give us some training on an active shooter situation.
Yep.
Take us through it. What do you do?
So the first thing that we'll do, like I said, is we'll give them some options that says, okay, but if that's what you want.
Yep, that's what we want. Yep.
But we also talk about introducing what we just talked about is,
right.
Do we not want to have some discussions about preventing it from happening in the first place?
Yeah, let's start there.
Right. So we will, and usually that's the first step. We'll get them through that.
All right.
But then, and we also will talk about the nationally accepted run, hide, fight method, which we have issue with, the current run, hide, fight model. We think that there's a number of other elements that really are critical that need to be taken into consideration before. And then if we want to do the actual drills, we will go into the organization. We will make sure that, if we're in a building in which there's other organizations, that they know the time and the date of what we're doing. But again, we leave it to you. The organization, we will come in and we can use like blank live rounds.
Yep.
Right? Because there's value to that.
Sure.
Some people have never even heard that. Right? So it's not like something where we're, again, chasing you down a hall, firing off these blank rounds, right? Like you're going to lose any kind of learning value
because they're going to feel
that.
so. Yeah. The methodology and the message is going to get lost in that kind of scenario.
Yeah. So, but again, I want you to be aware of the surrounding that you're in, right? What challenges do you have? I want to put you in your surrounding, and then we're going to come through.
What's run, hide, fight?
Run, hide, fight is the nationally recognized response to an active shooter
It's
event.
like stop, drop, and roll if you catch on fire. Like, this is what to do if there's an active incident occurring.
This is what to do, or this is the 3 options people do?
Run, hide, fight. That's what they train, or it's nationally
First
recognized.
run if you can't run, hide if you can't hide, fight.
Gotcha.
Right? Is that the
In a
short,
nutshell.
Is that what
short
it is?
version?
In a nutshell, yeah.
All right.
But what we've really expanded on that is, that's okay. So those are your 3 options, but understand that when you are put under this extreme stress and under this fear, your body and your mind are going to undergo incredible psychological stress. That changes everything.
Your decision making completely. I've always thought that about being a police officer. The commentary when people hear about how an officer reacted in a situation. Well, when there's a gun in your face, you tell me, even if you've trained for however many years, like until you're in that situation, you have no idea how you're going to react. But anyway, side note, it could be applied to this as well. You just don't. It doesn't matter how much training. I'm sure the training obviously helps, but you don't know how you're going to react until you're in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a story on that too. So going back to what we were discussing, right? So you have run, hide, fight, and then you have what we just talked about, the psychological stress that's involved in that, right? Fight, flight, and freeze, right? That's a psychological response. That's going to have a major effect on your decision-making process. So we talk about all of those. What are your mental and physical capabilities? Don't we want to have an idea of all of these things, right, beforehand?
Sure.
And there's a video that we show. I don't know, I don't remember where it is, but it really does an amazing job. It's a critical incident, we'll call it. It takes place like in a supermarket or something.
Yeah.
And it's live recorded, but what you actually get to see is off screen, there is shots that are fired. It's almost like a robbery that's gone wrong. But you have these 2 or 3 aisles, and you get to see the immediate response of all of these patrons. And you see the majority of them just start running, right? Of course, they don't know where they're running to, right? So they're falling over each other. Then you see another one who freezes, absolutely falls down into the aisle and is just frozen there. And then you have the one who you actually see him, and he looks where the threat is. He picks up a bottle of wine and goes towards the threat.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
So,
man.
what's all that based on? Right? I mean, a lot of that's based on personal experience as well as to how you're going to respond to that.
Totally.
So going back to the run, hide, fight. Okay,
I was confusing that with fight. Excuse me,
Fight or flight.
fight, freeze, or whatever.
Yeah. You need to learn more about traumas later. I mean, clearly you don't have enough, and you're like, no, I'm just kidding.
So most people will flee.
Yep.
Some will freeze. A less amount will fight.
Also, if you don't know what's
Fight
going
back.
on and you just see other
Yes,
people running,
right.
you're probably going to join
Right.
the running crowd. You're not going to be like, oh, I wonder what's going on over here. I mean, maybe you are, but unless you
Right.
actually saw it happen, I would guess you're going to be running with the other people.
Right.
I don't
So
know.
if someone came in here and started going caw caw caw, like I mean that's got to be right. Like your headspace just goes whoop. Like your mind probably will go. But you know what to do. Like, or you'd react a lot differently than I would, or a little differently than I would.
Well, if we're gonna go on the fact that it's human.
I would guess he would react a lot differently.
Well, that's why I asked him.
Well,
I mean, he's as human as I am, but he just has
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's
right. I know they talk about all the training, right? You know, yes. I mean, the training and the exposure to these types of incidents, yeah, they play a role.
Yeah.
But when we talk about this stuff in our training, we're telling you this is going to happen. So, and this is going to negatively impact your ability, right, to make decisive action. Mm-hmm. So better we at least talk about it so that when you experience all of this, the hope is that you can get through that quicker and get to some decisive.
Yeah.
It was my last 2 years. You know, we went to a barricaded hostage situation, and again, my mindset is, you know, I'm checked out. I'm just there as a supervisor, kind of overseeing things. There's the SRT team has already gotten there. They're trying to have conversation with the individual inside. And out of nowhere, this individual comes out onto the front porch and he's wielding a knife. Now, we have people on all sides of the house. They have less lethal. And like that, he comes down off of those stairs and across the street, which in my mind seemed like a matter of seconds. And all the less lethal rounds did not have any impact on him. And he was on one of my peers at the time, like that. And do you know what? During all this time I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get my firearm out. I can't get it out. Right? Because I am so like, what the is going on here? And I'm watching this and I feel like I'm in a movie.
Yeah.
So, so I'm going through what we talk about in training with these organizations.
Yeah.
I mean, you could blindfold me at any day of the week, right? And I would just sit there, no problem. No problem.
right.
But in that incident, even 20 plus years in your however long in your career.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, fortunately, everything
Resolved.
was resolved.
Yeah.
You know, the suspect was injured, but he recovered. But I will never forget that.
Yeah.
And I use that to this day, as an example, right? To talk with these organizations, say, listen, the human factor,
Yeah.
Always plays.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like a bad dream where you can't scream.
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's
Oh
it.
man.
Yeah.
What kind of organizations seek out are these retail stores? Are these schools? Are these
Yeah, across the board.
really?
Yep. Manufacturing, sales, human services. You know, especially, you know, even a lot of the human services fields that are dealing more. Well, let me back that up. Any organization where there is a lot of one-on-one with the public, so where the public on a daily basis is coming into that location,
Yeah.
or in some cases where members of the organization are having to go out and they do field work, perhaps like in the residences of some of these people's houses. And again, they want to know what to do,
Yeah.
you know, and I can't tell you what to do because obviously the parameters and the amount of factors involved in what's going on in every individual situation are going to be different.
Yeah.
You know, but here's what I can tell you. And it's about trying to be proactive, you know, even when it comes down to situational awareness, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you said it before, like you were talking before about how, you know, for years I'd go into a restaurant, right? I want to be at the table. That's the door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
You know, a lot of that.
Yep.
Do you know what's happened though? Since I've left, I've become complacent.
Really
Right? Yes.
interesting.
Now it's interesting you use the word complacent. Like that's a negative.
You're right. It's funny you say that because
Yeah.
at the trainings we say complacency. It's a dirty word.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like when I walk into a supermarket, I mean, I try to be aware, but I'm not like. I mean, because I've been like that, and that's a shitty state to be in. It's like constant paranoia. You know, like that sucks.
That's a great point.
You know,
Going back to everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
That wears on you, right?
Oh,
over
it's
time.
exhausting.
You always feel like that. But
You're never at peace.
no. But again, you know, I never looked at that as hypervigilance. You know, I mean, I just looked at that as strong situational
I agree
awareness.
with you. Like, you're not going
But-
to not go out to eat
Yeah.
because if you're at a table of 10 people, you're not going to get up and leave the restaurant because you can't have the seat facing the door because that's the head of the table and it's somebody's birthday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's hypervigilant. I think being aware of your surroundings is important. Now, if it stops you from doing things you enjoy, but I go into places and pay attention to where the doors are and things like that. But that's not even like it could be if there's a fire or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's something.
So maybe complacent is the word.
I shouldn't have said that.
No. I mean, because it is.
it's a great
but
point.
it's so funny. Like
Yeah.
you're 2 years out, right?
Yeah.
And now you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to walk into a place and not like size the room up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So maybe, you know what? Maybe in all fairness, maybe somewhere between
Yeah.
Yeah.
not hypervigilant. I never
Yeah.
took it that way.
Yeah.
And somewhere down there. But now I call it complacency.
Yeah.
Whereas I do, maybe I'm putting too much on myself. I do still feel as though I carry on more situational awareness, but it's something that has to be like practiced, right? Like,
You learn, it's learned and unlearned, right?
Right.
If
Yeah.
you're doing it every day, it's going to be more of a thing. And then I imagine after you stop doing it every day, it lessens a little bit.
Yeah.
What's a red flag?
I got 40 people in my office. Who should I be looking at?
yes. Well, the red flags are the behavioral indicators that we talk about. To be honest with you, I hate to say it, but a lot of it's common sense. It's just a matter of, that they're there,
Yeah.
but they were ignored
Yeah.
or dismissed.
Isn't that what people always say afterwards?
You know?
Well, in hindsight, I guess he was acting a little, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, you
they-
also hear, I never thought he was going to be. I never suspected anything.
Yeah. It's like one of two things, right?
Yeah,
Or maybe they're lying
again,
about that. Maybe they really did deep down inside. Yeah.
you know, and I always try to preface it, you know, because the list comes up, you know, change in behavior, right? You know, increased absenteeism at work. Perhaps there's increased drug or alcohol use. Performance has gone down.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and then we try to preface it. You know, not all of these factors. You know, if you're checking the box, they're saying, "Oh,
Right.
we got a potential active shooter here." I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it,
Yeah.
right? But when we look back, and again, it's yes, there's the research to show up, but you've seen it, right? When you see these incidents that's taken
course,
place
yeah.
over the years, and then everybody comes out of nowhere and they said, "Oh yeah, we knew if it was going to be anybody, it was going to be this person."
Yeah, totally.
Well, what did you know?
But I think
What'd you
people
hear?
are also paranoid. I mean, that's a big accusation to make. Like,
Yeah.
if you're thinking, hey, this guy, I mean, could just be this guy's going through a divorce and he's drinking a lot and he's not showing up to work and you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's
Yes.
vigilance is important, but also these are serious allegations to
Yeah.
make about somebody unless you.
And we recognize that there is a fine line. Right?
Yeah.
But I think would it hurt to have somebody within an organization
Just
hopefully,
looked into it a little bit more. Yeah.
yeah, or hopefully that person that has a decent relationship with this person, conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're most often males,
What's that?
shooters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and I understand, right? We really do. We really try to talk about it in organizations' responsibilities.
Yeah.
To protect, right, the other members of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
But is it sometimes nothing more than a conversation? Or the other thing we talk about, the communication aspect, where you have a large organization, the leadership at the top, right, may have no idea what's going on with this one individual,
Right.
but three of his coworkers do.
Right.
And I understand the human factor about not wanting to get involved. Maybe it's private, but at some point, when does it become your business?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
All right. Mike Maddalena, we appreciate your transparency and
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
appreciate your service.
Really interesting
Appreciate you.
stuff. Give something
And,
people something to think about.
All right. JM Spartan Training is the business.
Yes.
Give him a call, man.
Yes. Good to see you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right.
Cheers,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you.